Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday October Weekly Setup Social. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your on camera facilitator. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I want to give a huge shout out to my amazing co facilitator who will be running the chat. Miss Jennifer O, who is dialing in from Texas. Used to be again Team Texas, but now we're just usually color coordinated, maybe Team Blondies. But we're so excited to be sharing Saturday with you guys. What is really awesome is I'm seeing some returning socialers. It's always great to see you. I'm seeing some other socialers who are usually here on different days. Welcome to Saturday night, Saturday evening. I am quite partial because I feel like it's a little less of the stress that you may get on Sunday to set up your week. So it's a little bit more laid back vibe, but we enjoy it. So let us know if you are new to a weekly setup. If this is your first time socialer, first time weekly setup socialer, or if at this point you guys are old pros. But we are so glad that you are here. Make sure that you do set your Zoom chat to everyone. If you want to share with the Sonder fam, you can always send a note to myself and Jennifer only through the host and panelist or the QA feature down at the bottom. But we are glad that you are here and we can't wait to get started. So we are still embracing the October theme of perseverance, which again, I feel like I love perseverance. It is one of those values that I absolutely feel in my core, because, I feel like I embrace the excitement of trying again, coming up with a new plan, a new philosophy. I have a science background. I've always been a science person. So not only am I a huge nerd about the scientific method, but I love approaching problems. I love being proven wrong. I love challenging people to prove me wrong. And then I love being able to manipulate the variables to see what happens. So I'm always one of those, the kind of art of discovery. But I definitely seem like it builds into who I am, the pick yourself when you get back down, trying to figure out ways to do it. And I know everyone's kind of had that point in that journey where you certainly, it didn't go right, it didn't go well, so you had to pivot and you had to adjust. So I think this is one of those universal values that I think a lot of us can relate to. But as always, if you can't relate to this theme, that is okay. And again, if you can kind of live and breathe this theme, that's also amazing. That is what I think is really special about the kind of journal opportunity is we can embrace each concept each month in a new and exciting way where you can either kind of dig in and really challenge yourself, or they're one of those that you kind of get a little bit of a break or a little bit of a reprieve. But the way to explore in your own way, I think, is really valuable. So we are going to continue with our perseverance. So as always, a reminder for our community guidelines, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotion or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Always limit repetitive product or accessory questions in the chat. You can do that kind of on the side, but we are here to kind of work through the journal. And then we can always provide the email, hello@silkandsonder.com for any kind of headquarter related questions or suggestions. And then as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help alleviate your emotional health, elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions and your own reactions. So if you need to set up some of those mental boundaries or mental barriers because you had a rough week, you had a rough day, you are here for whatever, you're here to be in the chat, you need support. If you don't like the music, you can mute it. If you don't like my approach, you can mute it. It's how you want to share this next hour with kind of you and your journal and yourself. It can be tips and tricks, or it could be, again, if you are one of those creature of habits, it's this special time that you have set aside with you and your journal. So you can definitely use it for your weekly setup, or if you want to color or do something else, we are here for that. You are just here taking this time for you on whatever self-care journey you are on. So here is our agenda. We're going to go through week 4 of our Perseverance Mind Map. We're going to do our Rosebud Thorn reflection on the past week, and then we're going to move into the kind of meat of this entire setup, which is the weekly setup. So, if you are new to the Perseverance Mind Map, this is a really great concept that we do during the weekly setups as a way to kind of dive deeper into the month's theme. So, October being a longer month, we get 5 different opportunities to do this. So, if you've missed any of the previous weeks, those prompts are going to be on the next slide. So, we'll be able to cover those. And again, if you haven't set up your week, turn to a blank page or wherever you started working on this, because we're going to do week 4 and we're going to be able to dive a little bit deeper into that. But this is something that has definitely come through the weekly setups. And don't worry if you miss something, it's usually posted in the Silk and Sonder app, or you can always use the YouTube link to find it if you miss it. But don't worry, we'll be here for a little bit. But without further ado, here is the week 4 focus of the Perseverance Mind Map. So in our little picture here, you've got 1 and 2 across the top. Then we drop down to the left bottom with number 3. And number 4 is the middle at the bottom with how might you build rituals to help you persevere. So I think this is a great next step as we've kind of dived into how can perseverance help us transition from the previous month of flourish? What does it mean to us? And how do our beliefs about others play into kind of that role of perseverance, which helps us build that entire thought process? And now we're going to turn those kind of into action items with this kind of next reflection. And again, there is no right or wrong way to interpret it. These are just kind of the way I have approached it and the suggestions that I'm making here. So you can pull from some of the reflection from the previous week so that we can turn those into action items. Then also as a reminder, these can be mental, emotional, or physical rituals, but you can always ask yourself, maybe what support do you need to kind of add to some of that perseverance? And then these can also be a reflection on rituals that maybe you've already incorporated into your life that has helped you already persevere over some of those situations that have happened. And then at the same time, how can you embrace this theme as part of your routines? So the kind of meanderings that I went through to get here was with that kind of scientific method that I have, I always assume something is going to be a failure. So I am almost bracing for shock or bracing for impact when I, submit something for work or do some sort of task. So I am not giving myself permission to breathe or relieve because I always assume something's going to go wrong, something isn't right, which I think is very counter to my kind of optimistic kind of outlook, that excitement of trying to find excitement of finding the failure and getting to try again. I think that is kind of definitely built into too much of that kind of clinching or realizing, I always want to achieve the perseverance, but that doesn't always need to be the outcome. So that's kind of the ritual that I want to build in, is celebrating those wins without assuming I need a backup plan. And so I feel like that's been kind of the direction I'm having to go. And so that's how I'm going to kind of ingrain some of this into the rituals that I already have. So again, that's just my thought and perspective on this. Let us know how you are going to build rituals to help you persevere. Give you some time to work on this, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Initially, I was not the biggest fan of the mind map. I was a little skeptical about it, but I have found it really amazing and kind of its simplistic elegance that you can kind of deep dive and ask some of these questions and give yourself permission to kind of explore them as you need to. So I think it's been a really great way to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the theme. But again, what I also love about the magical of these socials is that there's almost that instant connection. You can find someone else that has had similar thoughts, similar feelings, and then I feel like, again, the elegance of giving yourself grace, celebrating the positive, kind of adding into that repetition and confidence to kind of embrace all of these different things. But then I also liked the idea of, gonna have to think on this a little bit. And that's where I think this is really valuable to carry into each week because it gives you an opportunity to kind of focus in on this instead of like a million things swirling around in your head. And then just being able to put it out there with, no expectations of response or acknowledgement. It's just that relief of being able to explore it, putting that power of pen to paper, just so you can put it out there and, experience it, but also kind of remove it from whatever kind of extra burden or time or energy that can be used for other things. So thank you everyone for sharing. Really appreciate it. And obviously we're going to be able to continue to look and reflect on this as we go throughout the week. So it looks like, again, we got a great segue, as someone is saying, sharing not only the wins, but the lows with others and allowing them to support, which leads us into this excellent exercise of Rosebud Thorn, which is the quintessential way to celebrate the wins from last week, acknowledge the things that didn't quite go so well, but then kind of turn some of that optimism into what can be. So please join us on the Rosebud Thorn page, which is page 50. So as always, a reminder for a rose, this can be a highlight, a win, something that went well, something that made you happy, something that made you smile. And then we have a bud, which is an emerging opportunity, something you're excited about, something you may be a little apprehensive about. And then the thorn can always be a challenge, something didn't quite go well, something that's bothering you, speed bump, road bump, any of those things. So for me, my rose was I had some wins at work. I'm moving into this kind of new role. I've been able to work on projects a little bit more independently, which always builds my confidence. And then the bud, I'm still waiting for my stuff to arrive. So that's why I'm putting it in the bud category because it's either going to turn into a rose and I'm going to be really excited with my cold weather gear, or it's going to turn into a thorn because I don't have my cold weather gear because it got cold real quick here. And then thorn, running into kind of some weird health things. I'm coming off of a cold, so I know I don't quite sound the same. I'm a little bit lower register than even what I'm used to, a little stopped up. So I apologize, bear with me. And then I'm having weird kind of skin problems, a little bit unnecessary dry skin, some weird patches that I'm just not used to or that I haven't been able to fix. So it's just kind of took a little bit of a health on like hit on the confidence scale. I don't consider myself an unnecessarily vain person, but it certainly doesn't help in the morning when I'm trying to get ready or do all these things. So, it's just one of those, it's a thorn in my side in my day. So again, please join us on page 50. Please feel free to share your rosebud thorn in there. But again, we're here to celebrate those highs, the lows, and acknowledge all of those things that have kind of transpired this week. So I'll give you all some time to work on that, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved seeing some of the wins on the work and professional side. Definitely on the thorns, sending out all those folks that need extra support navigating through illnesses or health. Definitely shout out to the Erica who's prepping for colonoscopy. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis years and years ago. So I always joke that the 10th one is free because I've had many, many of them and it's never fun, never processed, but always a great thing to, good preventative care. But again, thank you everyone for sharing. I noticed that there was someone that didn't have their bud yet either. And Jen brought up a really kind of good one is that sometimes it can be just the magic of a new day, the magic of a new week, something to kind of turn it into something optimistic that you can kind of use to build in kind of whatever form or fashion. But again, the value of a rosebud thorn at the end of the week is the opportunity to, again, celebrate those wins and get the support that you need for whatever thorns that are in your life. So thank you everyone for sharing. Oh, and Mayhas join us with thorns sometimes turn into roses in the future. That I think is an excellent one. The prettiest roses usually have the sharpest thorns. All those great kind of alliterations that go with it. So it's the opportunity to kind of look at, again, your kind of roller coaster of the week, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Because being able to see it kind of goes back to the song at the beginning, life is great, but sometimes it's not, but it can definitely be great again. So thank you everyone for sharing. You can continue to put those in the chat as we move into our next section, which is the weekly planner section, which again is why you are here. So as always, these are just kind of some repurposing ideas here. So feel free to use the journal as you see fit. That can be changing, get out that washi tape, rewrite all those things. And just because the suggestions that maybe I make on camera is not the kind of right or wrong way to do it. These are just kind of, again, tips and tricks. So if you have any questions or, how you repurpose, you think it's a great idea, please share it. That's why we're here. But this is kind of all of us coming together. Give yourself permission to use this journal how you need it. And also give yourself some grace as you go through, because it is probably something that is not going to be done right away. I've been on my Silk and Sonder journey for years at this point, and I still go back and forth with how to set this up. So again, there are no right or wrong answers. We are here to kind of set up this week for the best way that we can handle it. So please join me on page 52, which is the first page of this section. We're at the top of the screen with This Week I Want to Feel. And so the way I approach this is I like to connect all of my pieces on the first page. So the question I ask myself is, this week I want to feel, and so I come up with how I want to feel this time next week. So it can be a word, it can be a phrase, it can be an affirmation, it can be stickers, something to motivate. I love the idea of 1% better. We've also seen some with this week I want to feel more of, or I want to feel less of, as well as, multiple feelings. Each day could have its own feeling. But I treat this as like a mantra or an affirmation or some sort of focal point that when I'm having kind of one of those lower points during the week, I can come to this, reframe how I want to tackle my week so that I can make those adjustments, because at the end of the week, I want to feel this. And you can always use the theme of this month for perseverance or those type of things. So I will give you guys some time to work on that. Let us know how you want to feel this time next week. Thank you everyone for sharing. Saw some great kind of motivational how we want to feel this week, to include brave, prepared, focus on the now, light and energized, awake. So as you can see, there's a lot of kind of variation, but I always like to treat this section as kind of a grounding point of how we can build out the rest of our weekly setup to support our goal of wanting to feel this particular way this time next week. So we are still on page 52. We're just going directly down to this middle of the right page, and these are the weekly major three goals. Please don't be afraid of the major three goals, because you don't have to have three goals. You can have two, you can have one, you can have six. But the way I've seen kind of quite a few folks approach this is kind of a category idea, is that you can come up with a major goal in different categories kind of your life. For example, some of the exceptions here are body, mind, family, or mind, body, work. There's also a body, mind, spiritual. So you can kind of use that as a way to focus. I treat this section of what is the mental or emotional reminders I need to give myself so that I can feel the way I want to feel this time next week. So a lot of these reminders are stay hydrated, excuse myself from the unimportant, get organized. And then, as you can see, a couple other folks, again, different categories, but you can always put some stickers or some affirmations. These can be just kind of favorite quotes or maybe reflections on the theme of perseverance, ways you can get excited for fall, other topics. There are a lot of opportunities to repurpose here. But again, a way to approach this are what are maybe three mental or emotional thoughts to get you to how you want to feel this time next week, or what are the kind of big things that you want to accomplish because that's going to help you feel the way you want to feel by the end of the week. So I'm going to give you guys some time to do this. Let us know if you repurpose this section, or how do you approach kind of your major three goals to get you through the week. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. You all have some really inspiring goals. But what I also love about it is the idea of not only including yourself in those goals and kind of yours, but also how you can kind of expand some of those goals to the community. The one that is the smile where was it? Smile, look for something good each day, I think is always a great reminder. And then I loved Erica was going to recognize one employee this week. So the opportunity to kind of combine some of the category theme, we love a good theme, but also, treat again as the kind of goals that you want to do that's going to get you to how you want to feel at the end of the week. And again, sometimes these are going to change depending on what you need for that week. Maybe you definitely need it to be a little bit more task oriented, a little bit more actionable. Other times you may need them to be kind of those mental or emotional reminders. And then sometimes there are just those magical stickers that really speak to you because that theme is kind of on brand. So the flexibility to always do something different each week, I think is what's really awesome. And so we're going to continue into now. We have our weekly 3 goals, how we want to feel by the end of this week, this time next week. So now we're going to stay again on page 52, which is the first one of this setup. And we are now going to move into the weekly to-dos. So these are kind of the other pieces that you need in your week to get you to how you can feel, the way you want to feel by the end of the week. So that's kind of the way I kind of thread these sections together, at least on this first page. And again, you don't have to do it that way. That has just been the way that I have connected them, because I do like to build connections as we go, just so I can have that kind of focusing point, because I can be all over the place. And so any kind of grounding opportunity I have, I want to use it. So when it comes to the weekly to-dos, these can be your absolute traditional to-do list. They can be a to-da list. And as I always say, the difference between a to-do and a to-da is obviously mentality. I know a big thing with kind of going along with perseverance is celebrating those wins. So that is why I am a big fan of the to-da list, because that is how I celebrate the wins that I have done. But there are a couple other kind of really good opportunities for operational tools, which is the Eisenhower matrix, which again, top right, which is the do, decide, delegate, and delete. Sometimes the delegate can be a little tricky, especially if you live by yourself like me, but I think it's always using those opportunities when someone offers to help or asking for help. That is kind of the magic of those. So these all 4 may not apply each time, but it is a nice way to kind of approach this. I am also a big fan of the Pomodoro technique, where you pick a task, you set a timer, you work on that task till the timer goes off, you take a break, and then you rotate through your tasks. And kind of celebrate on the to-do list as well. And then as always, if you don't have any of those or it doesn't serve you this week, you can always throw some stickers on there or some positive affirmations, or completely repurpose it entirely. The one in the middle and the top, they have repurposed this as their dedicated exercise time. And so that's, again, we love a good template. So these are formats that you can change. These can also be used as bingo boards. Someone broke down their weekly to-dos in the need to and want to, which I feel like is always that great magical duality. What do you need? What do you want? And seeing if those somehow interact. This can also be a place where you put your mind map. And then what I also enjoyed is that someone turned it into their weekly to-bes, which again is maybe another way to support that goal, or their weekly major 3 goals, or how they want to feel this time next week. So the opportunities here are endless. So let us know how you approach this. Are you a to-do? Are you a to-da? Do you prefer some of those more operational kind of project manager approaches, or do you completely repurpose this anyway? So I will give you some time to work on this, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved seeing that folks are using the Eisenhower matrix. Love seeing the TDAs, as well as the Pomodoro technique. I feel like a lot of that stuff definitely comes naturally. So a lot of times you're already kind of doing these things. It's nice to give it a name so it becomes a little bit more tangible. And I feel like Jennifer made a really great reminder of you still have one more day to complete your to-do list. You have Sunday. So again, this is another tool. Again, if you use the to-do list, I saw someone that used the glimmer lists. You hadn't kind of that term glimmer is kind of the special moments or kind of good things that you notice throughout the day. The glimmer, the bright spots. I feel like there's another great saying of finding the magic in ordinary days, because sometimes you don't have a huge thing of stuff you need to get done. You add those in the kind of I need to, I want to. Sometimes they're really long, sometimes they're really short. But the opportunity to again use this as you see fit. And if you are trying to connect it again to those weekly major goals, to how you want to feel this time next week, that's kind of, I feel like those are a really nice kind of trifecta of again, the element of what you want and how to turn it into kind of practical implementation. So we are staying on page 52, but now we're to the bottom, which is the habit and activity tracker. This goes kind of hand in hand with the monthly habit tracker. These are things that maybe you want to do every single day. That's kind of what the monthly tracker is for. The way I kind of utilize this is the reality check. So there are things I want to do every day. And sometimes, again, I have to add the reality to it. Does my workload do it? Because the last thing I want is to not set myself up for success. So if I can anticipate the type of day I'm going to have or the type of weather I'm going to have, that will kind of change and adjust how I approach some of these habits. Or at the end of the day, if you don't want to track your habits, you can take a memo from the person in the bottom left, which is just big stickers, because maybe you're already tracking on the monthly, or I have excused myself from this section when I want to kind of be in the present. If I have family visiting or I'm spending time with them, I don't want to be kind of tied to this. I want to have the flexibility to do it. So you can do all five. There are a couple other methods with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is a really kind of great example. You can also use it as predictors. Maybe these are certain things that you're only going to do certain times during the week. Maybe you only need 3, maybe you only need 2. Maybe again, you don't want to track any habits that week. Same thing with, you don't have to necessarily use the goal. Maybe that is something that you want to plan for or something that you want to track in real time. You can also treat this as a yay activity, kind of a way to celebrate or reward yourself because you've gotten all your to-dos done. Or you can also focus on maybe a morning routine, an evening routine. They also do great for like a no habit. So no scrolling, no staying up past 11 p.m. The opportunities to use this is really kind of however you need it to be done. So how do you all use your weekly habit and activity tracker? And then, as I always say, always like to add kind of a fun one, which is, maybe it's a carb karaoke session, making a new playlist, as Titania put, the one fun thing, which is reading. Maybe it is a dance party, something fun, something a little bit maybe spontaneous, or maybe something that you can do for others, provide a compliment to a stranger, those type of things. So they don't always have to necessarily be super goal oriented. It's absolutely what you need on your self-care journey, but you can definitely expand it to others. So let us know what habits and activities you are tracking this week, and we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved seeing the approach, and I love that some people are carrying over their habits from last week. I feel like it's another great opportunity for that kind of start, stop, and continue the way we kind of embrace some of those intentions and reflections that we have from the month. And then as always, Jennifer and I love the just like iconography of these. So if you need any other kind of great ideas, these are certainly there. But thank you everyone for sharing. We are now going to flip over to page 53, which again, I lovingly refer to as the B side. These are not necessarily sections that I use all the time, kind of like the B side of music. Old school records. But when I really need them, there's some amazing gems and there's some amazing sections that I feel like are amazingly productive when I need them, but I have given myself permission and grace to not use them as much as I need because I found that I just wasn't using them enough. And I was kind of giving myself a little bit, some harsh criticism that I wasn't quite doing that. But as always, you can treat the meal plan as the quintessential traditional meal plan. You can also use it as something that you track kind of in real time, what you've eaten if you're trying to do symptoms or kind of other health goal. This can also be a place where you put appointments, workouts. Maybe you're just tracking your vegetable and protein intake. Again, another form of health tracker. Or what we're also seeing kind of a lot of focus on is maybe some of those journal reflections. So, kind of an opportunity with another space to kind of deep dive on a daily basis, either in the morning or the evening, kind of asking yourself some of those questions. But again, no right or wrong answer here. Let us know if you repurpose your meal plan or if you use it as a traditional meal plan. Give you some time to work on this, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Yeah, I had to throw what I consider kind of a spooky song in there for October. But thank you, everyone, for sharing. Loved seeing how people are approaching this. I do see some meal plans. I see some real time kind of meal tracking, as well as some of those kind of reflection opportunities. So, again, I think it's a great format to kind of repurpose for what you need. But at the same time, if you don't need it or you don't want to add another tracker, give yourself permission to kind of cover it up, put more stickers, all of those things. Or again, if you need to challenge yourself to track something like that, it's what it's here for. So again, we're staying on page 53. Now we're also going to move over to the Mind Body Health Plan, which is the top right corner. Another great one that gets repurposed often. You can use this for, again, kind of daily intentions. Maybe it's where you want to reflect on the I feel and I need. It is also a way that you can either plan or track maybe the 7 types of rest being social, spiritual, mental, creative, emotional, sensory, or physical. But maybe this is also where you put some fun alliterations. So on Mondays, it's the motivate me. On Tuesdays, maybe it's tranquility, or you can completely change the format with these are the things that I want to do for my mind, body, and health, and these are the days I want to do it. Or you can throw all of those out the window and do it as a reading log. Or you can always ask yourself, how do I care for myself? And then the suggestions that going in there, I see a lot of I feel I need, which I think again is a great another opportunity to reflect. So let us know how you repurpose this section or how you approach this section, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved that folks are using this for a kind of reflection piece, but I definitely am in the camp of I thought it was more to reflect on your day, but love the idea of starting your day with this. I feel like that's why we're here to get these amazing tips and tricks, and you guys are extremely inspirational. So thank you for sharing. We are staying on page 53, moving down to the bottom with again shopping list opportunities to again make a big change or use it again as a shopping list. But it's a really nice big space. Maybe you want to focus on your routine here. Maybe you want to do a prayer list, another great spot for a bingo board, or maybe just kind of self-care reminders. I like the idea of a boring bingo board. the boring tasks that you have to do, or celebrating the wins, which I feel like is what we've talked about kind of throughout this social on the perseverance side. I also wanted to include kind of some fun other kind of self-care tips to embrace the spooky season. But you can also use it as a don't buy list, or again, another great place for motivational stickers, or maybe you only plan dinner because your meal plan is used for reflection elsewhere. So again, let us know how you use your shopping list and we will check back in. Thank you everyone for sharing. Shout out to Maureen, who was in the chat, who shared the self-care list in the app, which is where we get a lot of our examples. So if you are comfortable, please share those examples in the app. We love seeing them. We love using them. You guys are truly an inspiration to not only the facilitators, but everyone that joins these socials. But with that being said, we have actually reached the end, believe it or not. The hour goes by so quickly. So thank you everyone for joining us. As always, here are the QR codes that you can take a picture of. Again, if you refer a friend, annual subscription, as well as the new app. Jennifer is also going to put in the YouTube link. This is a unsearchable link. So if you show up late, have to leave early, or definitely need a social and there isn't one on the schedule, you can always go there to find something. You can also get different facilitator perspectives. But again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for sharing everything. We appreciate all of those amazing things, and we hope to see you again. I will share the next slide, which has the playlist that I created. It was a little all over the place, but still grounded in what I consider perseverance. So thank you again, everyone, for joining, everyone for sharing. We were so happy to have you, and we hope to see you again. Have a great night. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
There were a lot of of tears I had to cry through. A lot of battles left me battered and bruised, and I was shattered, had my heart ripped in two. I was broken, I was broken. There were a lot of times I stumbled and crashed, when I was on the edge down to my last chance. So many times when I was so convinced that I was over, I was over. But I had to fall, yeah, to rise above it all. I'm grateful for the storm, made me appreciate the sun. I'm grateful for the road, made me appreciate the right road. I'm grateful for the pain, for everything that made me brave. I'm thankful for all my scars, 'cause they only make my heart grateful, 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 grateful. I was thinking I was drowning in doubt. The weight of all the pain was weighing me down. Pulled it together and I pulled myself out. Learned a lesson, that there's a lot you gotta go through, hell yes. But that's what got me strong, I got no regrets. And I got only love, got no bitterness. Count my blessings, yeah. I'm proud of every tear, yeah, 'cause they got me here. I'm grateful for the storm, made me appreciate the sun. I'm grateful for the road, made me appreciate the right road. I'm grateful for the pain, for everything that made me brave. I'm thankful for all my scars, 'cause they only make my heart grateful, 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 grateful. And there is nothing I would change, not even one mistake I made. I got lost, found myself, found my way. I'm grateful for the storm, made me appreciate the sun. I'm grateful for the wrong ones, made me appreciate the right ones. I'm grateful for the